Welcome. I'm Patricia Ballantyne. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction here in the Newmarket School District. I'm also kind of facilitating our program this evening, which is a public forum on the full-day kindergarten study we've been doing. If you have a cell phone, please make sure it's not going to ring in the middle. And if you feel the need that you have to make a phone call, please step to the outside. We have a committee of 10 members. I'll turn so they know who I am. This has been a committee of volunteers, and we started in October. Everyone that submitted an application to be on the task force, we read and we willingly took on board. I think the diversity is important to have. I'm going to have the person next to me, Elizabeth McKinney, kind of open up our meeting for us.
I'm Elizabeth McKinney, and I am a school board member and a mother of 3 children in the Newmarket system. And we are a group of volunteers that have been charged with studying the feasibility of a full day of kindergarten. And we've put together a PowerPoint, and we're going to discuss that. And I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves.
Very good.
I'm Dana McKenna. I'm a community member and parent.
Nicole Kyle, community member and parent.
Karen Paulzanetti, community member and parent.
Elizabeth McKinney, school board member
And parent.
and parent.
Patricia Ballantyne, Director of Curriculum and Instruction.
Mike Martin, interim superintendent of schools.
Amanda Ray, community member and parent.
Heather Rabb, community member and parent. Erin Ryden, kindergarten teacher.
Carol Podier, kindergarten teacher.
And Joanne Lazarus, kindergarten teacher.
Thank you. We do have the beginnings, and it works. Yes. Rationale. This is why we're here.
Yeah. So we took a lot of time over the course of our meetings to really get a sense of why or what is entailed with full day kindergarten and why we would be wanting to move forward with that, which is what the decision of the group was. So just wanted to go through those. So with the microphone and turning around backwards. So, so research supports that there are conclusive academic and social benefits for children that attend full-day kindergarten programs. So, and although the expectations for 5- and 6-year-olds have changed nationally, their time in the classroom in the Newmarket schools has not. And currently our half-day program is 2.5 hours, which we really want people to understand in terms of a half-day that's less than an actual half day of school. And then last, we wanted to share that in proposing the opportunity for a full day kindergarten program, the Newmarket School District would allow for teachers and students to participate and engage in a balanced and developmentally appropriate program.
This is more of the historical perspective, but we started with local school areas that have full-day kindergarten programs. Back in 1998, 17 years ago, we started kindergarten here in this town, and we were kind of considered, you know, the front runner of doing that. Even though it was just half day, that was a big deal back then. Then Governor Sheehan actually came to the school to open the new wing for us. But if you look now, there are local school areas and districts that now have full-day kindergarten programs, and we're pretty much surrounded by those. If you read through the list, Barrington, Dover, Epping, East Kingston, Fremont, Hampton, Hampton Falls, Kensington, Rye, Newcastle, Newington, Northampton, Portsmouth, Rochester, Sanborn, Stratham. Exeter is at 60%, and I do know that Exeter is trying to put it on the ballot as well to have full-day kindergarten that's supported by their budget as well. Probably can't see the dates real, but in 2003 there were 21 districts in the state of New Hampshire that had full-day kindergarten. Now here we are in 2013, 10 years later, and we've just about quadrupled that, 83 school districts. And there are, if I can find it, 263 public elementary schools in the state of New Hampshire. That does not include charter elementary schools, but public elementary schools. So you can see there's been an increase. Some years it wasn't as high as it could have been, but it's been climbing. Joanne.
So one of the first things we decided to do was to set out a survey to community members, not just our school members, but the whole community to get input as to what the feeling was, whether we should even pursue having full-day kindergarten. So we kept it small, kept it short, just 4 questions, and we ended up with 294 people responding to the survey. It's still open.
Yeah.
It will be closing at the end of this week, though, otherwise we have to pay for another month. So,
not
but
budget.
overall, of the 294 people that answered the questions, 14.5% said no. And the rest were all in favor. We broke it down then further, whether it was, are you in favor of it if there's no cost, if there's a limited cost, or if there's extended cost as in new construction. And even then, overwhelmingly, over half of the people said, whatever the cost, we need full-day kindergarten here. So it was a really nice response to see, and I think it's important that we recognize that of those respondents, only 14% said no. They did go on, there was a section for comments, and there was quite a few people that had said they just felt their children were too young, that they didn't want a full-day program for their kids. And so that was one of the other questions we asked. If we kept it, everyone had to attend full day, or you could choose. And there was an even split. Parents said, I might choose it, but I want full day available. So, and then there was a lot of comments.
Those are up on the, we're going to put those up on the
Yeah.
kindergarten
The
task
actual
force.
survey results itself will be.
So you
they
can
are
read
up
through.
already,
Yeah.
so that people can check them out.
And remember, you can still take the survey if you haven't taken it by Friday. Okay, Nicole.
So as a group, we discussed a lot of the academic benefits for full-day kindergarten. These are just some of the bulleted ones that we came up with. We could have come up with a lot more, but wanted to keep it kind of short and sweet for you guys. A smoother and quicker transition to first grade, more time for independent learning, a reduction in referrals for first grade services in grade 1, more time to complete a developmentally paced curriculum, better test scores and attendance, and the ability to extend the depth of learning in our current curriculum that we have already. And currently, first grade teachers have to add additional curriculum that has not been taught in the kindergarten schedule due to our limited time because of our only 2.5-hour day.
Among the research that we did as we were looking, we came across some data that showed that once a child is identified as having difficulties with reading, they always continue to have difficulty with reading. And the only way to avoid that is to do early interventions. And the only way to do that would be to have a full-day kindergarten. We have the data and the research that supports that. It was just very striking. Basically, by the end of first grade, if a child's not reading at grade level, they never will read at grade level.
It's just a constant catch-up.
Yes, because the material keeps getting harder.
But they never catch up. And they never catch up.
It's
The
that slippery
foundation.
slope. Just-
Trajectory is just.
Before we go on to the social behavioral benefits, I do want to explain to the people that are here in the audience and those at home that much of the work of the committee was not done necessarily at meetings, but we made phone calls. We went on the New Hampshire DOE website. We read resources and studies of full-day kindergarten versus non-full-day kindergarten. Members took different tasks on very seriously to get to these little bullets that you see here. We will put up on the website any additional resources that we've used in the past 2 weeks, but most of them are already up there. And we have a specific kindergarten task force area for you to look at. All right, Nicole.
Also, we looked at the social behavioral benefits of full-day kindergarten, so giving more time for cooperative learning for the students, additional time to focus on relationships and character building, a greater opportunity to promote and teach social emotional learning within the classroom, allow time for active learning through dramatic exploration, and build a stronger sense of independence and self-esteem for students, giving them that time to B5 and explore, but still have that social piece and still be learning and learning all those things, what it is to be a school community member?
I think when we look at that, I was thinking the other day when I was reading through the draft of these slides, now I realize I'm a little older, but back when we were kids, we had 4 or 5 kids in everyone's family. You learned a lot of that social at home before you even went to school, and now the number of children in families isn't always the 4, 5, 6, and okay, I'm Irish Catholic, 7, 8. So that opportunity changes. So I think that's one of the strong reasons that we looked at expanding from the 2.5 hours a day. The next part of the program is really the nitty-gritty part of what the schedules look like, would look like, and what kind of time elements are involved around specific parts of a curriculum. Whether it's, the social-emotional part, whether it's skills, whether it's pure content area, there are parts to the day that would certainly benefit from more time. And our 3 kindergarten teachers are going to go through this with you. It's called the gift of time.
All right, and speaking not just from a kindergarten teacher's perspective, but I'm sure any teacher can attest to the gift of time in the classroom, no matter, if you're there for 2.5 hours or 6.5 hours, it never seems to be enough time. But really trying to work with 2.5 hours, with all the new standards and the Common Core and everything, it's, tough to get everything into a 2.5 hour day, especially during the winter time when a lot of that time is taken up with, students learning how to zip their coats and put their snow pants and find their boots and get their hats and mittens. That just is more time that cuts into the day. And snow days. So if you can see, we kind of broke it down to where we had our minutes for the half day versus if we could offer a full day program, and the number almost doubles to where in a half day we have about 140 minutes with the students, whereas a full day it goes up to 375. And if you'll notice, there are some aspects like writing in a half day, it says not scheduled. It doesn't mean we don't get to writing in a half day. It just means that not every day there will be a specific time allotted for writing. It has to be embedded into maybe your math lesson and maybe your literacy lesson that day. And it's the same thing with science and social studies. We don't have a specific allotted time to sit down and get into depth with, those skills. It has to come through with maybe our whole group reading lesson that day is a nonfiction and we're bringing in social studies aspects or science aspects. And it's the same thing with centers, child-directed centers, guided centers. There's just no time in the day to have a specific time for those centers where they're learning some of those social pieces in taking turns and playing a game, or and the same thing with related arts in kindergarten. Right now there is no time for them to have PE or go to the library or do art or music. And as far as if you see an NA, that just means that we don't have that in kindergarten at all right now. So right now we don't offer a lunch, and the same thing with the related arts.
Want me to turn?
Yeah. And I know this number really got to me when they first told me the hours, because I never thought of it. I know we're there for 2.5 hours, and I never thought of it in this way, but our 2.5 hour day for 181 days is only 453 hours for the whole school year. If we were to implement a full day, that would bring the number for 6 hours a day for 181 days to 1,086. So that number is almost tripled in the time that we could have with the students. And we're not sitting here asking to say, with that much more time, we want to bring in more curriculum and more things. We're not asking to extend it. We're asking, to take what we already have and go more in depth and be able to dive into more topics. And we do have a sample schedule of a full day
Oh, you're gonna hit
that
this.
I'd like to, I know, I'm gonna mess it all up.
That's okay, just make sure you get it passed.
I will, I'll get it back to you.
Good job. Technology
Um,
made stuff done.
And kind of how our day works right now is, like I said, the students come in, they get undressed, they do their cubby, they do their morning routines. In the winter time, that could take 15 minutes out of the day, whereas the summer maybe it's 5, so it all depends. Then we usually come in and we do a calendar routine, which, we incorporate some of our math skills into that calendar routine, whether we're counting the days in school, And then we usually jump into our whole group literacy, which we only get 60 minutes for reading time in a half-day program, where half of it has to be sent in a whole group setting. Maybe you get 15 minutes to read a story, maybe you get 15 minutes to do the skilled activity. Whereas you can see if we could have a full day, we're not asking to bring more reading in, but we're saying now we can spend a half hour in this whole group. Then we can spend another half hour with smaller group instruction where we can have support come in to help those. We also have time for literacy centers where they're getting that child-directed learning, where maybe they could work with partners and work independently on more of those reading skills. So it just allows more time to get in depth with the curriculum that's already in place.
To be able to do handwriting and then be actually able to implement it into a program of Writer's Workshop.
Right.
We have handwriting right now, but they don't have the opportunity to delve into it and practice with the writing program.
So we have, for our writing, for example, we have the program called Handwriting Without Tears, where we go through and we learn, 1 letter or 2 letters a week. But like Carol said, there's no other time to actually have the kids be creative, do journal writing, come up with ideas, do stories, share their work with the students. We really have the time to learn the letters and practice writing the letters, and that's really it. There's none of that time to say, okay, now that we've learned how to write the letters, let's, be creative and think and do some sentence writing and get, sharing their ideas and excited about writing and Writer's Workshop. And with a full day, you'd have almost that half hour just for those students to actually get into the writing program. Same with math. We have, a half hour for math. So you have to sit and have 15 minutes of whole group and then quickly maybe do 15 minutes for the activity. So that means now you have to set it up, go over the instruction, and then maybe they get 5 minutes to have, independent time with that activity. Whereas in a full day, we could implement, math journals and actually have a whole group math session, and then also do math centers to where maybe those students who need practice with sequencing numbers, they would be able to do that there, where you have some kids ready to do some addition, or where you have some kids learning to recognize numbers. You'd be able to offer that support and individualized instruction for those students who need it. And some of the things that we currently use in our math program that we would be able to get more into is we use these things called Cuisenaire rods. And it's just a manipulative and another tool to help get a number sense where, we have them build a staircase and each number rod and each color represents a number. And also we use these visual clusters, which these ones aren't open. Neither are these. Thanks, Carol, for bringing these. So they look like just playing cards except without the numbers. So it's just another visual tool to help with the automaticity of learning those numbers where, oh, I can see 4, that's 5. And if you cover it up and there's 2 up here, oh, 2 plus 2, oh, that's 4. And they start to get those skills. And so not only would we be able to do these, but we could implement them into, more centers and more time for math.
Erin, what is a center? When we talk about centers, because some people might not know what that is.
A center is usually just, it's when you can take, small groups of children with the same developmental needs and really focus in on those skills to help them progress and get, just a concrete basic foundation and understanding of that skill before they move to the next one. Because when we talk whole group, it's usually the teacher, giving instruction, the same instruction, to all 12 or 15 students. Whereas a center, you have small groups of children with like needs where you're able to hone in and focus on a skill that these 4 children need. And then maybe at this table, these 4 children are doing a different skill and they're able to, grow and learn from that skill. It's where it's more
Activity-based.
Activity-based.
Yeah, I think that's the
And you're
easiest way.
differentiating for all learners.
for all learners.
Do I need to move?
If you just move it down, just a little bit. And if you kind of notice in our schedule, I know we had talked about, some parents not feeling maybe their child isn't ready for a full day. If you'll notice that we tried to take that into consideration and have, our literacy and our math and our writing and, the really core curriculum piece all before noon, to whereas those parents who feel, right now, I'm just not sure if my child's ready to be there for a full day. Those core concepts all, kind of happen before noon, whereas in the afternoon, you can get to where we talked about the related arts, which would be the music. The
So we're leaving it
computers.
open for parents to have the option to whether their child attends full day, or if they feel the need for a half day, they could come and pick them up at the half point.
And I'd
not
also
worry
like
that
to-
their child's missing out on reading instruction.
I'd like to point out, we keep saying half day, but it technically isn't even a half day.
No.
No.
Right.
It's
A third.
a half day is 3.5 hours,
And
and
we're
we actually,
2.5.
our children only go 2.5 hours.
So when we looked at the budget, we tried to calculate this as everything that we would need to make this program successful. So a kitchen sink budget, hopefully the most that it could cost. The staffing, we would have to increase the staffing by 5 classroom assistant teachers, because currently we have 0 classroom assistants. So to make this program completely successful, or to what we would want, we would add in 5 classroom assistants. The cost for that would be $21,535 times 5, which is $107,675. In addition, there would be 3 certified teachers. 2 would be classroom teachers, and 1 would be a special teacher for the related arts programs. And that would be a cost of $60,000 times 3 for $180,000. We would need some curriculum materials that would go into the everyday teaching, which would include Scott Forsman reading, handwriting without tears resources, math curriculum materials, dramatic play, which is roughly around $3,800. Of course, there'd be classroom furniture, which is about $6,200. The nice part, the transportation would be a savings of $13,500 because there would be no midday run. The kids would come to school in the morning and leave at the end of the day with the rest of the school community. There would be a modular lease of about $30,000, and that would the total estimate for this cost would be $314,175,000. So, not a lot of money if we're asking for the gift of time for our kids.
I just wanted to mention with the classroom assistants that we did call all of the local schools in the Seacoast, and no other school does not have classroom assistants in their classrooms for kindergarten, which is why we felt it was very important.
Yes.
And we
Very
do
good point.
have the highest volunteer rate. On the Seacoast at this time? Didn't we win an award once?
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
collected the blue ribbon one.
Yeah, and so I think it's just important, we do have parents, but an aide is extremely helpful
Full-time,
for the teacher.
dedicated
Yes.
person, I think, is important.
Trained.
Trained, dedicated person that's there every day, not, unless she's sick or he's sick. Finally, we're almost done. When you look at the work people have done, as I said, making phone calls, reading resource materials, going to the New Hampshire DOE and trying to figure out where you can find that one piece of data that doesn't seem to fit in the alphabet the way they have it arranged at the top of the website. We come to what we think is probably the best way to sum up what the charge has been. We truly feel a full day of kindergarten will enhance the current program by offering a balance of academic instruction, social interactions, guided exploration, and structured activities that allow for a developmentally paced, enriched kindergarten experience. And for us, a full day kindergarten program is about a full day of kindergarten. That's our PowerPoint. Before we open it up to questions, closing comments if you have them. Anyone here have something they would like to add before Dr. Martin speaks? Oh, you're all good. All right, Michael, you're on.
Thank you, Pat. First of all, I need to thank the members of the committee who have worked hard on this and did a lot of work, as Pat mentioned, away at the table. I also need to thank the board for giving us permission to form the committee and supporting our efforts to have the conversation about full-day kindergarten, and especially to Elizabeth McKinney, who has been the board's representative at the committee meetings. as a building principal, I worked, and as an elementary certified teacher, I worked in the elementary school, and was there in the buildings when kindergarten was formed for the first time a couple of times in my career. And I'm just a believer in the value of kindergarten as the way to get kids off on the right foot as they begin their education. We've heard tonight about, you know, it's hard to catch up, it's difficult to do that, but I think, you know, everything that I know about education, it's early and often, and, you know, you have better chances of fixing things if kids are behind, or, you know, have a block, or their personal life is a little bit out of order. Kindergarten is the one place where we can truly make a huge difference. And so I'm just grateful that we've had this time to have this conversation. I'm not going to predict the future, but I am hopeful that others will see it this way. We will need people from the community to speak out and join us, and we will need help when it's voting day. But I can assure you that in my other life, before I came to kindergarten, the conversation where I came from in the last 2 years, both districts created full-day kindergarten, and the conversation has changed today. I think people are more accepting of it. Doesn't mean it will be successful here, but I think it's got a chance of being successful here. I think it has a very good chance. So, and I want to thank the folks in the audience for coming, and we would certainly like some comments from those of you that are here. If we missed a point or two that we should go back and study, we have time. I mean, it is January, the vote's in March. We might even meet again if we felt the need to do that as people ask questions at public hearings or deliberative sessions or actual voting. I did check with our television production person, and if you missed something or want to relate to something, there will be 2 ways to access this meeting tonight. One will be video on demand, and then there will also be a link under the kindergarten webpage. Maybe not tomorrow, but I think video by demand would be there tomorrow. And if you don't see it working, or let us know that it's blown up somehow, let us know. We'll get it fixed. But
Frozen.
Frozen. So, thank you. So I hope somebody has some questions, and please come to the mic and identify yourself. And
you guys did such a great job.
Thank you.
You have to come up.
Okay.
I mean, I thought you actually answered. Is that working? Yeah. Hello? I thought you actually answered the whole 2.5 hour thing. Like, you know, when I moved to this town, I was just thinking, you know, that stuff's just taken care of. And then I was like, what? Kindergarten, 2.5 hours? That's not even a half a day. Whose half a day is that, you know? Yeah, that was my one question, was what even the real half day was. And as you addressed it, you said it was 3.5 hours. So they're not even getting the average. So for me, $314,000 is a drop in the bucket for a whole class of students. Like, I mean, an investment, and that's what it's all about. So to me, it's a no-brainer, and I appreciate that you have taken the initiative and making it happen and bringing it to everyone's attention, and I'll obviously vote for it. That's it.
Thank you.
All right.
I'll say one quick thing. Can I speak as a parent and teacher?
Yes.
I'm Catherine Butler. I teach 1st and 2nd grade, but I'm also a parent in the town. As a teacher, I know over the past few years the academic demands for kindergarten have greatly increased, and I teach 1st grade, and as 1st grade teachers, we notice the decline in social aptitude in these kids. You know, they aren't getting what they used to get in a kindergarten classroom because you're so focused on the academic piece that they don't have time to do the social piece, and it's a huge, huge part of kindergarten and 1st grade, and it's a missing piece right now, and I think we really need it through all the grades. So,
And we
Thank
can
you.
talk about the money that could be saved potentially by having them there full day? Have we really touched on that?
Because we're saving money on interventions later on.
Especially.
I think down the road, we will see not only a savings in interventions, but just the fact that I worry about the kindergarten being the 2.5 hours. Those are the time to make the connections for this group of students coming in the community. They're not somewhat detached, they're down on that wing, and I think it's really the best time to get in there and have the time with children, as Catherine said, to let them grow, let them play, let them talk, learn how to share, you know. That time is crucial. We've spent a great deal of money in the district at the elementary level on math skills and reading skills, and everybody that comes here says the earlier you start looking at reading and math in depth, the better off you are. That research is there. We've heard it. We've signed checks. But I think, and we all know that, it isn't something that is unusual for us to understand. It's just finding that time to do it, and money at this point, you know, to get the program in there.
I'd also be willing to predict that if we went full day, we would see behavior referrals dramatically decrease from the upper grades, especially as time went on.
Well, that was some of the research that was
right,
proven.
and we saw that within our own school when we switched from saying, don't worry if your children don't know their ABCs, that's our job, to, hey, your child needs their ABCs, they're behind. And we switched from being this balanced program to almost all academics. We saw behaviors increase as the kids moved up. And as Catherine said, the teachers notice it.
Full day is only gonna help reap, all teachers are gonna reap the benefits.
It's gonna be a flood down,
You
you know.
build a better rapport with the students, whereas I may see a student for only 2.5 hours a day, and if you're starting to get some of these behavioral plans and they have to be consistent, well, I'm only really seeing them for 2.5 hours to try to start something and be consistent, whereas if I was able to see them for 6 hours a day, you know, you build a better relationship with them, you have more time to implement those behavior things, and your hope is that eventually those behaviors kind of...
I don't even think we'll need as many behavior plans because they'll have time to be 5.
They'll have time, so that's the thing.
You're gonna allow them to be children.
Yeah.
It might be really helpful too, there's a ton of research out there. I think the more research people hear about it, there is so much positive research about it that I think people would be more receptive to it.
And we have it.
It's
3
on
of
the
the
website.
studies that I put up on the website were really, one was really diverse, showed pros, cons, one showed pros, one showed cons. There is a lot of writing out there, and just in calling out to other school districts when we had to have information, secretaries, you know, you get them on the phone, they were willing to talk about everything, you know, they were, but they were like, oh yeah, we love it now, because, you know, we really know the children, and the parents really know the school. You know, I can remember being up at the elementary school and parents would come in and say, well, you know, it's April, we're having open house. They have no idea where that child's room is because they don't spend a lot of time there. You know, so I think it's a win-win for everybody, not just kindergarten teachers and parents, but as we go down the line, we really form connections between families here, and that's what we're really about in this town, is families. It's about kids and families, and this is the first really strong foundation that we have. Anyone else? Questions? Oh dear.
Stacy Cooper Jennings. My son is not in kindergarten. Goodness. Anymore. Not that I didn't like my Friday time, Mrs. Lazarus, but
Parent volunteer.
just the questions about, Karen, I think I'm going to answer yours because it was the last one. On the busing, there's a cost savings in busing. We have a contract with the busing company, it's ours, but they know that that might happen and that money might go away. And we're good with that. It's not going to get absorbed in other pockets. Okay. And if parents do pick up their children, they're responsible for transportation in the middle of the day if they choose not to have their child. They're not going to say, well, I didn't choose it, so I still want a bus because I'm a taxpayer. I'm just asking if you thought about that. Just putting that out there. Of course, you need more teachers and staff, and it's important to have as many hands in the classroom. I once did that, and more hands is the best. Do we have the space? All right, I'm going to open the can of worms. Do we have the space?
Thank you.
We all know there's been a school issue for a little bit of time in town.
So I can take that little bit
Okay.
of a question for you, Stacy. We all, of course, like you just said, we all know there's a space issue in this town. But we can't stop educating our students and our
right.
children based on the fact that we don't have the space. Once we get the approval from you, from the public, then it's up to the administration to figure out the logistics of it, whether it's a module or whether it's shuffling around some classrooms, whatever that looks like.
Okay.
But the first step is to move forward with the program, and then the administration can figure out the logistics.
Right.
But again, in that $314,000, that was kind of the worst case as far as cost goes, because that did include a module. There's a chance that we might not need it by shuffling around classrooms.
Yeah, the space, the kids, you'll figure it out. I mean, you have space, you'll figure it out. I'm just thinking about, people talk about we don't have space now, what are we gonna do when we add more programs,
Right.
et cetera? I mean, I think that's important. I mean, you can make a center in different parts of your room. Have you talked with other staff members at the elementary school, this is another question, about adding those related arts in the cafeteria and that kind of, have you talked with anybody about that?
We did. The related arts, and that's why we included in our budget that we would have to hire a related arts instructor, because there is a time, there's no way Nancy Miller can add another class at
Correct.
another 3, 4, 5, whatever it's gonna be. So that's why that 5th teacher is what it would end up being, would be directed for doing our related arts in kindergarten.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's certainly that, and we have talked with the other staff members as well about, this has been an ongoing conversation.
I'm sure.
So.
I'm sure. Would we also look at, I know you talked about the research, and I agree with the research, early the better, about also that teacher, would some of those teachers also help be special education to help those students with that early learning? They're 5 years old, they may have some early stuff from intervention to when they come, but is there a special education teacher involved in some of that? Just specifically special education?
We have that now.
You have that now?
Yes, in kindergarten. We have special ed students and have a special ed case manager that actually, two,
That
that
focus
work
on
in
kindergarten and
kindergarten
first grade.
and first grade.
Okay, good luck. I
Yeah,
hope it
continue.
passes. Good luck. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It has been an ongoing conversation, and I really like to point out the fact that these 3 teachers have put in so much time and effort in doing this and have studied. Pat has looked up all sorts of studies. These
Lot of
community
reading.
members have given up time with their families. I agree. I hope it passes. I commend our teachers for what they do. I've learned so much about our program, and having 3 children go through the kindergarten classes, I'm amazed at what you're able to do in that
2.5
2.5
hours.
hours. And thank you so much for the time you give us.
I just know they're very excited that how long have I heard that, Pat? When do you think we'll have full day? Every
Every
time I go
year.
down there.
We've had this folder going for several years.
Yes. So I was finally glad to say, I've solved your question. We're gonna talk about it finally. So it's out there.
Maybe my grandchildren. will have
Sure.
it.
All right. Are you all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Any closing remarks?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming.